there was what was called the Nandi Exodus.
Yes.
For the benefit of many Kenyans who do not know the history of our own people, which for 6 decades right now, we have not recorded it properly. The Nandies, after the war of the British Nandi, led by Koitalel Ole Samoei,
Yes.
then there was a dispersal of the Nandis, or the exodus of the Nandis.
Yes.
And the idea was twofold.
Yes.
One was so that they do not influence other African tribes to take up arms against the colonial government.
Yes.
And two was so that they could also access the Nandi highlands
Yes.
and give it to the white settlers itself. So tell me how your family ended up in Tanzania as a consequence of that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting history in the sense that the fight against the British took place 1895 up to 1905, to be exact October 19th, when the late Koitalel Samoei was
1905,
killed.
yeah.
1905, was killed by the British. And that was the end of the 10-year war against the British. So Nandi people went into a lull. And now around the 40s, and late 40s and early 50s, the British realized, because of the Mau Mau uprising, that if the Nandi were going to connect with those who were already in the Mau Mau,
Agitating for
independence
and certain rights.
it was going to create a very chaotic situation in the country. Remember, around this period, those who had gone to the Second World War, the British had been rewarded with parcels of land, both in Kericho, Uasin Gishu, and other parts. And therefore, they were still living side by side with the Nandi people. So they realized if we allow them to stay here, one, they are causing problems, the way you've said, in terms of the land. Number two, they might join the Kikuyu and other Kenyans who are already in the Mau Mau, and it will create a situation that they will not be able to do it. So what they did was to encourage them, some to move to Tanzania, like my parents, some to move to Uganda, and they were giving them passes, what they were calling passes, from Nandi district at that time. Some went to Uganda, some went to Masailand, some went to West Pokot.
And others went to Laikipia.
Some went to Laikipia, and they're still in those places, even in Tanzania.
Pretty much dispersed, but they still maintain the language and the identity.
In fact, if you are to go to those places, you realize that they are more concentrated than us. The language that we talk, the Nandi that we talk in Kenya, possibly has been diluted by the interaction with other communities.
Other Kalenjins.
Yes, other Kalenjins. But when they went there, they were sort of like a capsule within the rim of the people of Tanzania. And their traditional values are still very intact. And that is what happened. Now, number two, the British, how they did was to reduce the number of animals an African was allowed to keep. Let's say from 40 to 20 to 16 to 8. Now, when it reached to 4, they were forced to almost to flee, because usually, traditionally, we give about 5 animals for dowry. And now they realized, if I have 2, 3 sons, and I'm now left with 4 head of cattle, the moment my first son marries, then I have no cows, and you don't qualify to be seen as an animal.
So they told you either keep such small stocks.
Yes.
Because now the white settlers were also into the dairy farming.
Yes.
And into the beef farming.
Beef farming.
That also happened to the Somalis, because before the white settlers, the Lord Delamere and others were able to do the kind of job they did in the agricultural sector.
Yes.
There were what you call land reserved for Somali livestock owners.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it was reserved in Naivasha.
Yes.
In Mariakani. They were settled there in Mariakani.
Yes.
And Isiolo also.
Yes.
So it was called Somali Reserve area.
Yes. Yeah.
But as progressively the Naivasha white settlers were able to bring out a lot of their livestock, they now have livestock, great livestock.
Yes.
Because the breeds now started performing well.
Yes.
They were also forced in the same manner to cut down on their stocks.
To cut down their, they were calling it blue squatter system.
Yes.
Where you are forced to, the blue was the ink that you use to press your thumb, to accept that now I'm accepting to live here under the conditions that shall be prescribed by the Mzungu. And that is what happened. And now we were given only Nandi as what they are calling native reserve. They reserved in Nandi, the current Nandi County, almost half of it, because places like Nandi Hills were already part of the British Islands.
White settlers.
White settlers. Those sides of Indalat and the northern part of Nandi was already now a settlement area for the white settlers. So Nandis realized we were too squeezed. They moved out.
They were allowed to go with their livestock.
Their livestock, or you sell and you go buy.
Your family ended up having thousands of cows in Tanzania.
In Tanzania, because now it was free range.
Yes.
It was free grazing, and Tanzanians were very friendly. I would actually want to say they are unique.
The issue of identity as far back as those days was only Tanzania. They didn't care about what tribe you came from within the Tanzania.
Yeah, in fact, they were more homogeneous than us.
Yes.
They were more homogeneous. I think it's only Nyerere who also improved on that national cohesion through very serious program, through TANU, later on Ujamaa and CCM. And also he put it in school curriculum that you must do certain values, what we call the ethos of the nation. And he himself acted with exemplary leadership. I still admire him, and I wish we had 2 more leaders like that in Africa.